The NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win. Bet $100 and get $100 at wynnbet.com or download the WynnBET app and start winning today. State restrictions apply. We're also brought to you by the Sports Gambling Podcast's Final Four watch party. April 1st at 7:30 p.m., SGP will be at the Ice House in Los Angeles. So come hang out with the crew. All the information at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/icehouse. Welcome, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Thursday, March 23rd, currently 11:04 on the East Coast. Here to break down the Thursday games. Only 4 games on the schedule here tonight, but we'll go through it as we usually do here on the NBA Gambling Podcast. But joining me to help me break it down, you guys know him as the man of the show, the newest voice of the NBA Gambling Podcast. It's Delonte Smith. Delonte, what's going on, brother?
Yeah, not much, man. Like you said, underwhelming card, but to be expected with the the Sweet 16 starting and all that stuff today. But still opportunity to get some winners. So looking forward to going through it.
A pretty exciting night last night in the association. I'm going to recap what we saw kind of last night. Couple of big games we had. Obviously, I think that the game of the night was probably that Golden State Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks game. Some controversy, I guess we can say, in the game, but at the end, Warriors do get the victory there against Dallas in a big, in a huge victory, I guess we can say.
What happened? I was watching. I don't know what I was watching. I was watching something else. I missed that. So I seen it going around, but I didn't look into it yet. So what exactly happened? I seen Cuban's statement and all that.
Yeah. So from what I kind of saw and read online, I was watching this game, but I had it on mute. Was that there was a play underneath the basket that happened, and the ref called the ball went out of bounds on, I think, Kevon Looney. And the referee called it Mavericks basketball at that point. And then there was a timeout called by, I forgot which team it was. I guess it was the Mavericks. And then what happened was the referees changed the call to Warriors basketball, but from the Dallas Mavericks perspective and Mark Cuban's, they were never informed of that change, that it was going to be Warriors basketball. So the Mavericks were under the assumption that it was going to be their ball, so their guys are already on the other side of the court, right? But Warriors got the ball underneath their own basket, and pretty much nobody is on that half of the court guarding them. So it was pretty much like 5-0 for the Golden State Warriors. And then there was, I think they stopped the game again. And then Jason Kidd was saying, hey, I thought you said it was our ball, and it led to a whole discussion, but the call stood and they got those 2 points. So that's pretty much what the gist of it was. And then you saw the statement made
by Cuban.
By Cuban last night. They're going to protest, and then we'll see what happens. But I think, that was the big thing in that game. But again, the Warriors did get the victory last night, 127-125 in that game. What stood out to you last night, Delonte?
I mean, the Philly coming out and blasting the Bulls. That was from start to finish was unreal. And Embiid was out in the second half. Harden didn't play because of Achilles. I'm not sure how serious that is. I didn't see him get injured. Did you see him get injured in the first Bulls game?
Harden?
Yeah, Harden. I didn't see him get injured. I didn't know he was hobbled or whatever.
So he's dealing with that Achilles injury. That's what's been popping up on the injury report. I don't remember if somebody fell into one of the players, if that was a completely different player.
Yeah.
But I just had a gut feeling last night, just kind of looking at it, that he was, and the way the line was kind of moving, that I thought that Harden would sit last night. And then I think closer to game time, they did rule him out. And then I think, D'Anthony Milton got the start in place of James Harden. But I guess they didn't need him last night. Delonte.
Yeah, they blasted him. Yeah, they
It
blasted
was
him.
like 21-1 in the
Yeah,
first like
they
couple
started
minutes.
off I think 17-0. Yeah, man, it was unreal. Man, it was a lot of good things last night. Like, the Lakers Suns game was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Cat returning, hitting the the game winning free throws.
Oh,
Man,
don't want to get me started on that.
oh yeah,
Did you see that post game interview?
yeah, he got a new voice. Yeah, he got a new voice. Yeah, man, and who else? Memphis and Houston played a really good game, man. Like Houston's been fighting. I know
Yeah.
you've been watching. They've
Mm-hmm.
been fighting a lot. If they gave this fight like early in the season, they might be a lot better position.
Yeah.
But I think they took the Grizzlies like initial punch really well with the Ja returning and him coming off the bench and everything. Um, so I like the way Houston's been fighting as of late. Uh, who else played a good game? I mean, Utah blew a golden opportunity. They lost by 12 to less than, I guess, 60% Portland Trailblazers team. They were missing Simons and Grant. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, there's a lot of good things last night. And I didn't even mention the Knicks and the Heat playing. That was a great game, back and forth. The Heat would pull away in certain stretches, and then New York would come back with another run. So yeah, man, it was a really good night in the association.
Yeah, the Portland game last night, 4 of the 5 starters had scored 20 points or more last night. Between Trenton Watford, Yusuf Nurkic, Dame, and Shaden Sharp, they all finished with at least 20 points last night, which kind of really propelled the Portland to get that victory last night against the Utah Jazz. Lauri Markkanen, another incredible game for him. He had 40 points and 12 rebounds last night. But outside of that, not much help for him.
Yeah,
THT 11.7 assists, wasn't very efficient. Kelly Olynyk, 2 of 8 from the floor, 0 of 4 for 3-point land. He did finish with a double-double, but outside of Lauri Markkanen, nobody scored more than 15 points last night, and that came from Chris Dunn, 15 points off the bench. Yeah, you mentioned that Atlanta and Minnesota game. Came down to the wire pretty much. Obviously, we talked about Cat hitting the game-winning free throws. Good to see him return. He had a pretty good game as well. Finished up that game with 22 points, 4 rebounds in about 26 minutes that he played. Jaden McDaniels for the Minnesota Timberwolves in that game.
really good.
Yeah, great night for him. 25 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks. So yeah, it was a great night in the association. I think huge victory, like you mentioned, for the Lakers last night. I'm not sure if you saw who was reffing that game, but I'm Mr. Controversy.
No, I didn't. I didn't see. I didn't watch much of the. I didn't watch much of the Lakers game. I was just getting some stuff ready. I got some. I got this article I was working on for the site, so I wasn't really watching much of it.
Yeah, it was Scott Foster was on the game last night.
Oh,
I checked the the referee report out or the referee assignments. I was like, oh, Scott Foster's on the Lakers game. I'm back in the Lakers.
Oh yeah, man. Him and Chris Paul got beat.
Yeah. Nick pointing out, yeah, KPJ had a triple double last night. Yeah, I saw that, man. I know we even talk about his double doubles and stuff, but yeah, look, he's I guess when he's on the floor, the potential is there for him, I think, but I'm not sure if he's going to be the future of the Rockets at that starting point guard position. I think he's a great guy to bring off the bench, but I don't think he's the answer for the Rockets at that point guard position. But we'll
I think you got to get some vets. Yeah, got to get some vets in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, also I seen the chat was talking about Austin Reeves, man. Yeah, he's been killing it. I seen
150 win MVP.
Hell no. Hell no. Nah, but he's been killing it, man. He had 25 and 11 last night.
Yeah.
He looked better than AD in the past few games. So
yeah, AD burned me last night. I know I took his rebounds last night. Props were not very good for me last night. They ended up going 1-4. But if you do follow our picks on the website, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA picks, I did go 8-2 against the spread last night. I think the guys had a pretty good night on the pod yesterday as well.
Yeah, I think so. Really good.
Yeah. So hopefully we can continue that into the schedule here tonight, Delonte. Only 4 games on the schedule. But anything else from last night, my man?
Nah, man, that's it. Except for the Raptors. Did you see that game by any chance?
I did not. That's the one game I was watching the score, but I didn't really watch that game.
Yeah, the Pacers came out and they were destroying Toronto. Like it looked like Toronto was like a rec league team. That's how bad they were doing. And I don't even think they had Hadley, right?
No, they didn't.
Yeah, like they were. So at the beginning of the game, they were, because I had Toronto first quarter, like a dumbass, and they were
I mean,
down.
that's the right side because Pacers have been terrible in the first
Yeah.
quarter.
So worst first quarter team ATS in the league by a wide margin. So they were down like 20, like in the first quarter, and then they clawed back, and then it just couldn't stop Indiana. I think Indiana outscored them in like 3 of the 4 quarters. Like it was just domination, man. That's rough for Toronto, and I got a Toronto to make the playoffs ticket. It wasn't good for me.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of looking at the standings before we get into the games here for tonight. I know it's only 4 games, so we can talk a little more about what's going on around the association. But Toronto, they're still cemented in that play-in bracket tournament. I think that obviously the Miami Heat, depending on if they are gonna end up as the 6th seed or the 7th seed, right now they're tied record-wise with the Nets, but they have 2 more games in hand due to the Brooklyn Nets. They've played 72 games. Miami's played 74, so definitely look out for that. And then Atlanta, Toronto, Chicago are all separated by 1.5 games for that 8, 9, and 10 spot. So I think that's a big win for the Pacers if they do want to make the play-in tournament this upcoming season. I don't know what their motivation is for that, but they still are 1.5 games behind the Chicago Bulls for that 10 spot to get into the play-in bracket. And then it's crazy if you take a look at the West, Delonte, 7 through 10, that play-in tournament, they're all separated by like half a game.
4 through 12 is by like 3.5 games, I think.
Yeah, 3.5 games. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, if one of these teams is going on a hot winning streak here to wrap up the season, they could easily end up as a 4-5 seed. We'll talk about the Paul George stuff when we get. I know the guys covered it yesterday, but kind of how it impacts tonight's game and the rest of the season when we do talk about the Clippers and the Thunder here tonight and as the last game of the night. But yeah, look, 4 through, you said 4 through 10, but if we go all the way down to 4 to
12, I think.
12, yeah. Even if you want to go down to the Portland Trailblazers at 14, they're only separated by 6 games, but I think it's going to take a little more for the Blazers to make the play-in tournament. I don't think they will.
Yeah, they will.
It's just going to be interesting to see which 2 teams like fall out of that play-in tournament bracket and then which 2 teams get in. So again, big game tonight for the Thunder again against the Clippers tonight. We'll get into that obviously as the last game of the night. But anything else, Delonte, from last night?
Yeah, speaking of, I know we were going over the West. I got this Western Conference Futures article coming out talking a lot about the teams that could potentially go in, like scheduling quirks and different things like that. That'll probably be up later today. It'll go into depth on some of the stuff about potential matchup seeding, like futures to buy on teams to make the play in, because the play in props are just as valuable as the playoffs, because you can bet a team to actually make the play in at plus money. Like you can get some really good bets and value on some of these teams to just make the play in. They don't even have to win it; they just have to make it. So with the seeding being as tight as it is, it's kind of hard to put a number on each of these teams, barring scheduling and stuff like that. So it's a bunch of value in that play-in market if you really just follow some of the teams and know the schedule. And it's hard to dictate injuries, but that's a part of it. Like similar to the Paul George thing. Like I'm not sure. I know we'll talk about that later on, but not sure how the Clippers rebound with some of that injury going on.
Yeah, man. Again, it'll be interesting to see when and if even LeBron is back for the Lakers before the season wraps up. Obviously, Paul George right now at minimum is going to be out 2 to 3 weeks for the Clippers. It could be beyond that, but again, like I said, we'll get into that when we talk about the Clippers game.
Oh yeah, one more thing. My bad.
Yeah,
so I seen the Zion. Did you see the Zion report? He said he's coming back in 2 weeks. They're gonna be fucking gone in 2 weeks. What's the point of doing that? Like this season's over in 2 weeks. They got like 10 games left.
So right now the Pelicans are 35-37. They do have 10 games left exactly. They're half a game out for that 9th and 10th spot. They do have a game tonight against the Hornets. So I mean, I don't know, man. That's a conversation. Like, have you paid him all this money in the off season?
Man, he better bring his ass back now. They don't have like time to just wait for him to come back. This season could literally be over in a week and a half. And they're talking about, and I think the report said they were reevaluating him in 2 weeks. Not that he started, like, I guess, on court contact is what they said, but they're supposed to be reevaluating him in 2 weeks. I mean,
yeah.
So you're basically looking at like a 3-week stretch, because I mean, who's to say it is Zion? So who's to say that he's going to be like ready in 2 weeks? You know what I'm saying?
Well, their season could be over by next Thursday because after tonight they go on a 4-game road trip to the West Coast. They have the Clippers, the Trailblazers, the Warriors, and the Denver Nuggets. So
that's 2 L's in a row
at minimum. Yeah. And then they come back home for the Clippers again, and then the Kings at home, and then Memphis, New York, and then Minnesota to wrap it up.
And Minnesota's gonna need that game. The only thing is Memphis is pretty much locked into that 2 seed. I think they're maybe like 4.5, 5 games ahead. So unless they like implode, which I don't see them doing, I think that they're pretty much locked into that 2 seed. So Memphis is kind of a toss up depending on what they need, but I'm sure they're still gonna be playing some of their guys. I mean, shit, even Memphis's like B team is pretty good.
So they've been really good without Zion. I mean, without John Morant over the past couple of seasons. We've seen that the numbers have at least covering spreads and things like that, right? So right now, like you mentioned, Memphis is in that 2 spot. They did clinch a playoff, or they clinched the division. I believe that was last night, and then they have a 2-game lead over the Sacramento Kings for that ahead of them and that 3 spot where the Kings are. So it just does look like Memphis is pretty much cemented into that 2 spot right now. And then it's a battle of, like we talked about, 4 through 12.
Yeah, and I think if you're at the bottom, I would try to get that 6th spot. Like that would be my goal, to get the 6th spot, because you would get Sacramento, and then possibly the winner of the 2-7, which would probably be Memphis. So I would try to stay far away from Golden State as I can. Yeah, I know they got the road troubles. I would just try to stay far away as I can.
Yeah, and that's Golden State right now, sitting in that 6th spot.
That's perfect. That's a perfect spot for them.
Yeah. All right, before we get into the games here for tonight, let me tell everyone about our presenting sponsor. That is going to be WynnBET. WynnBET is the official online sportsbook of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. WynnBET is now active in Massachusetts and tons of other states. Be on the lookout for the WynnBET Win Hour each Thursday, which is today, from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. During WynnBET Win Hour, marquee games of the week will have better odds on WynnBET, giving you a larger payout opportunity. We are on to the Sweet 16 for the big dance, and so many ways to bet on the big dance. Sign up today, receive a special offer, bet 100 and get 100, limited state availability. And of course, for our DJs, only if you hit the biggest long shot parlay of the week, you get $1,000 free credit. There's so much to choose from. All you have to do is head over to wynnbet.com or download the WynnBET app. Offers have been changed. Terms and conditions at wynnbet.com. Must be 21 or older and present in a state where playthrough WynnBET is available. If you're someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. The SGP guys are going to be hosting a Final Four watch party at the historic Ice House in Pasadena, California, Saturday, April 1st at 7:30 p.m. Get all the details at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/icehouse. And if you're looking to hang out with Sean and Ryan at Stadium Swim and watch the biggest golf tournament in the world, you can win a 3-night stay at Circa Las Vegas to hang out with the guys. The contest is completely free to enter. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/golf party. And if you don't win the contest, you can still get a discount on a room using promo code SGP15. All right, let's get into the games here for tonight, Delonte. 4 games on the schedule. The first game on the board, we got the New York Knicks. They are going to be in Orlando here tonight on a back-to-back situation. This line opened up in favor of the New York Knicks, -2.5. That number's been bet up to -3.5. Do see a -4 that just popped up as well. So money looks like coming in on the New York Knicks. Total opened up at 230 in this game. That number has actually been bet down to around 228.5 consensus. Looking at the injury report, give me a second. Should I have this pulled up? But like I mentioned, New York is on a back-to-back, so they don't have a injury report submitted just yet. They have some extra time to get that submitted. And then for the Orlando Magic, pretty clean injury report. The usual suspects are out in Jonathan Isaac and Jalen Suggs. Delonte, let's start with the side here, man. Let's call it -3.5 consensus right now for the New York Knicks as a road favorite against Orlando.
Yeah, I kind of like the Knicks here. I laid 3 on the overnight. Just thinking that they would bounce back from 2 bad defensive performances. They've allowed 125 plus in the last 2 games, so the defense has been struggling as of late. The Magic are decent offensively, but not to the extremes of scoring 125 points on a solid Knicks defense. So I think they'll bounce back here. They played really, really tough against Miami. Obviously, short travel here, so that's really not a concern for me. the Magic, they thrive in transition. I don't think that the Knicks will be able to let them get in transition and get to the basket with ease. I think Randall and Mitchell should have a really good advantage on the inside because the Magic are bottom 5 in rim percentage defense, so they should have a really good game inside. Um, the Magic have covered 4 of the last 5. The Knicks play really, really well on the road. They are 24, 13, and 1 ATS on the road. So I think the Knicks get it done here. I think the physicality wears down to Orlando's size and length. I look for a big game from Brunson. Also, him and Randall should feast on that pick and roll against the Magic defense.
Yeah, I do like the spot here for the New York Knicks, like you mentioned there, right? They've been really good on the road so far this season as well. Um, Overall, they are 24-13 against the spread on the road, 16-11 as road underdogs. And they are actually 8-2 as a road favorite, like they are here tonight against Orlando. I know we've talked about backing Orlando when they are home underdogs, but again, this is a spot here for the New York Knicks just coming off of the loss, and I'm trying to pull up some stats here as well. On a back-to-back here, the Knicks are actually 7-4 straight up, 7-3-1 against the spread on back-to-back nights. Over under slightly to the over at 6-5, but we talk about standings in the Western Conference where right now in the East, they are in that 5 spot. Looks like they may just be cemented into that 5 spot because Cleveland does have a 4-game lead over them for that 4th spot. But this team is healthy, right? They've been the most healthy since, with Jalen Brunson that had been in and out of the lineup. Mitchell Robinson missed some time. We saw that as well. But, they did take a loss last night. We talked about with Miami, but I think this is a spot for them to kind of bounce back. Like you mentioned, I think they'll have some problems containing both Mitchell Robinson, if he does play tonight, and Julius Randle to kind of keep those guys off the board and prevent those second chance opportunities for the New York Knicks. So also the New York Knicks on a back-to-back situation where they took a loss in their previous game. So the night before, they are actually 5-0 straight up and 5-0 against the spread. So I like the angle here for the New York Knicks as well. Let's get to the total here, Delonte. That currently is sitting at 228.5. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I like the over. It's interesting the money's coming in on the under. The Magic played 7 of the last 10, have went over. They've been a pretty sneaky over team as of late, which those numbers indicate. I think that both offenses could, have similar success against each other's defense. The Magic being a run and gun type of team, that's going to lead to turnovers, which they're 28th in turnover percentage offense, meaning they could, turn the ball over enough to get New York in transition and get them easy baskets. I think the Magic do have some advantages on the Knicks as far as, being able to run their half court sets. The Knicks defense, it's a little bit overrated to me in the half court set. I know the numbers vary a little bit more, but just from an eye test perspective, don't think they look as good. They get kind of complacent in some of the things, a little aggressive in trying to jump passing lanes, and they get backdoored a lot. So I think the Magic have success in the half court, even though their numbers don't indicate that they're a good half court team either. But just from a matchup perspective, I think the Magic can have some success. So I'm leaning to the over. Probably just wait until we get a better number, being that the money's still coming in on the under.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean with the under here tonight. Again, I think, like I mentioned, back-to-back situations where to kind of have stepped up defensively, where those second game of a back-to-back for the Knicks are only averaging about 218 points per contest. For the Orlando Magic at home this season as a home underdog, 13-12 on the number, where they're only averaging about 226 points per game. So I feel like maybe they slow the pace down a little bit, do the New York Knicks, get into their half court stuff, especially when Jalen Brunson is on the floor. Your half court offense is going to be a lot more efficient, just because if you just watch him play, his footwork is just absolutely amazing to watch sometimes. So I think they'll, lock in a little more defensively. They gave up 127 last night to the Miami Heat. Expecting a better defensive effort from the New York Knicks here tonight. So I'm going to go with the under at 228.5. Player props in this game?
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. Mitchell Robinson over points, rebounds, 15.5. I think is the number I see. I didn't see his double numbers up as of yet, but I would like that also if it's a plus price. If it's a nice plus price.
Plus 360.
Yeah, I'll take that too. I think he can have a good game. Magic, bottom 5 in rim percentage defense, so they don't have a rim protector. I also like Gary Harris over 2.5 threes at +1. You can get like +140, +145 out there if you just shop around. He's over in the last 2 games. He ended with 2 in the 2 games prior to that. He's averaging almost 6 attempts per game in the last 5 games, so he's getting the attempts. I really like the stretches he's on right now shooting the ball. So give me the Gary Harris over 2.5 threes at plus money.
Yeah, I really like that Mitchell Robinson call. He's had a double-double against the Magic in 3 out of the last 4 games. The rebounds have definitely been there for him. 6, 10, 11, 10, 9, 10. The points are just sometimes a concern, but I think that, when we talk about getting offensive rebounds or putbacks or even, alley-oops or easy baskets from whether it's Julius Randle or Jalen Brunson getting him the ball, the opportunity is definitely going to be there for Mitchell Robinson to get this double-double. So that's a great price at plus 360.
Yeah, I think that's a great price.
Yeah. I didn't have many player props I liked for this game. See if the chat has anything. A lot of the guys have been talking about Wendell Carter's 3-point shots. I know KW Franchise has been on that. That number is at 1.5 threes at plus 112.
Yeah, I've been playing that too. He burned me on the rebounds though. Like, he had 9. That was my dog. I think Tuesday he had like 16 and 9. What a bummer.
Yeah, my guy Ski pointing out Knicks only 2 games from being in the play-in, hungry off the loss, Magic satisfied off a win with nothing really to play for. Yeah, I mean that's a great point.
That's a good angle.
Yeah, like we talked about, right? They're in that, they're sitting in that 6th spot or the 5th spot with Brooklyn. They have a game here tonight. They're in a revenge spot here against the Cavaliers after the L they took against them on Tuesday. So, yeah, that's a great point. Any other player props here, Delonte, for this game?
No, that's the only 2 I have.
All right, let's get over to the next game of the night, talking about those Cleveland Cavaliers. Second game in consecutive nights, or not consecutive nights, but consecutive opponents for the Brooklyn Nets. I'm sorry. Right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers opened up in this game as a 5-point favorite. That number actually came down to -4 in this game currently. That's pretty much consensus across the board. Total opened up at 220. That number has been bet slightly down to 219. Do see some 219 and a halves out there as well. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Brooklyn Nets, the usual suspects are on there. And for the Cleveland Cavaliers, pretty clean injury report. It's just a bunch of guys that are on either assignment or on a 2-way deal with the Cavs. So both teams are pretty much healthy here. Like I mentioned, Delonte, these 2 teams matched up back on Tuesday, where the Cavs did get the victory and the cover in that game. Fortunate cover because there was an opportunity for the Nets to backdoor that spread, but Royce O'Neal missed a 3 there at the end. But Cavs did get the cover and the victory in that game, 115-109. But the Cavs really did dominate throughout that game up until that 4th quarter, where the Brooklyn Nets did actually outscore them 31-21. Donovan Mitchell in that game finished up with 31 points. We did see the return of Jared Allen as well for the Cleveland Cavaliers in that game. He recorded a double-double against his former team, 12 points and 14 rebounds. He is, again, a go here tonight. Clean injury report, like I mentioned. Let's start with the side here, Delonte. Currently, the Cavs are a 4-point road favorite, again, against the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, I probably just lean to the Cavs. It's similar handicap to Tuesday. I mean, not much has changed. I know the losing team usually has, the advantage in adjusting and getting things done. But the way the Cavs dominated them in the middle portion of that game, like from the 7 or 6 or 7 minute mark in the first quarter, like you said, into the fourth quarter, I mean, the Cavs pretty much were owning them and doing what they want. I think the Nets just, they don't have any scores. Like, they don't know how to play together right now. And that's one of the reasons why I like them to not to make the playoffs, because I don't think that they just have enough, or they can sustain the level of offensive output that they need, because especially against a good defensive team. Cavs are a top 3 defensive rated team. They've allowed under 110 points in 4 of the last 5 games. They do struggle on the road, ATS 16-20-1, but I think they have some favorable matchups here. They should dominate the glass with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. Yeah, I just got to see more from the Nets to really be a believer. I know they do have the guys who are capable of doing it or putting it together, but they just haven't put it together as of yet. Just the success that the Cavs had in that first game, I don't see much changing here. So I'll lean to the Cavs.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean with the Nets here tonight. I really do like backing those teams, in those consecutive nights where they're, or not consecutive night, but consecutive opponents where they're kind of playing these back-to-back games against each other. Just like going with the other team. I feel like that's something the Nets could build off of in that first after that fourth quarter, where again they did have the opportunity not to win the game, but we talked about they had the opportunity to cover, and that kind of shows me a lot when a team is still fighting after being just dominated for the first three quarters, because the Brooklyn Nets did get out to a 30-23 lead, but in that second and third quarters where the Cavs really did take off against this Brooklyn Nets team, where they outscored them in that second quarter 38-25, in that third quarter 33-23. But like I mentioned, Brooklyn, despite all their offensive struggles, I know Scott talked about this on Tuesday. They still, I know they barely got over their team total in that game at I think it was like 108.5 or 107.5 for the Brooklyn Nets, but I think that there's an opportunity where maybe the Cavs don't really care about this game, because, like we talked about, that they're kind of cemented into that spot of number 4 are the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then they do have a game not till Sunday, so against the Rockets. So not really a look ahead spot for the Cleveland Cavaliers either. But I think there's an opportunity where the Nets, they can again backdoor it, where maybe the Cavs win by a possession here. So I'm gonna go with the Nets here at +4. Thoughts on the total here, Delonte? That number is currently sitting at 219.
Yeah, I still lean under. It was on pace to go under for basically the whole game, and then the Nets had that fourth quarter.
Yeah.
That made them go over the team total and the game over. So I just think that Cleveland's locked in defensively as of always. They're gonna dominate the glass. Not gonna be many second chance opportunities. I thought the center, not Sharp, but Claxton. I thought Claxton played decent against both of those guys on the inside. I didn't expect him to play that well, but yeah, I think that the Cavs can control the tempo and play at a slower tempo and be able to limit the possession. So I like the under here.
Yeah, I didn't really have any thoughts on the total. I mean, I think it's pretty spot on from what we saw.
Yeah, I think that's the close, right? This exact numbers that closed the last game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was like hovering around like 218 and a half,
Yeah.
219.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's pretty much the same spread and the same total here. So I didn't really have much on the total here for this game here. So let's get over to some player props in this game. You have anything that you do like?
I only like one that was Jared Allen over 23.5 points and rebounds. He had 26 in the last game. He's went over in 2 of the last 3. Favorable matchup, like we mentioned. The Nets are like 30th in offensive rebound percentage. They bottom 5 in defensive rebound percentage. So those Jared Allen and Evan Mobley both should take turns like volleyballing the ball off the glass. So.
I was looking at Spencer Dinwiddie's assist here tonight. He's had double-digit assist in 4 of the last 5 games, averaging 11.2 assists in that span. And again, like last game against the Cavs, he did have 11 assists in that game as well. 2 games this season, he is averaging 9 assists per game against the Cavs. But again, that number is definitely going to be higher when he's playing the amount of minutes that he is right now for the Brooklyn Nets. He's averaging around 36.2 minutes over the last 5 games. Like I said, 11 assists, 7 against the Kings, and then 11 against the Thunder, and then he had 16 against the Denver Nuggets. So that current number right now is at 8.5 for Spencer Dinwiddie. If you want to buy that up to 10, maybe get some plus odds, or even go for a double for Spencer Dinwiddie. That number is currently at plus 175 for his double here tonight. Anything else that you do like for this game?
Maybe a Garland game. With the way Mitchell played last game, we're going to probably put more emphasis on trying to shut him down, so they couldn't lean to Garland having more overall scoring the ball. He's going to get the assist. I think the assist is going to be there, so probably would pivot to a Garland points and assists total.
Yeah. All right. Before we continue the conversation here, let me tell everyone about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is heating up for March Madness. College Pick'em is a great way to get in on the action, especially if your bracket is busted after day one. Plus, Underdog Fantasy has your favorite college basketball player props. Head over to underdogfantasy.com and use promo code SGPN for a 100% bonus of up to $100. That's underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN. All right, let's get into the third game of the night. Here we have the Charlotte Hornets. They are headed to the Big Easy to take on the New Orleans Pelicans. This line opened up in favor of the New Orleans Pelicans at -8. That number is actually now up to -9 for the Pelicans. Total opened up at 226.5. The number's been bet down to around 225.5. Do see some 225s out there as well. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Charlotte Hornets, the usual guys are out, which are Mark Williams, Cody Martin, and we already know LaMelo Ball is gone for the season. For the New Orleans Pelicans, did see some more news about Jose Alvarado. He's going to be out for another 2 to 3 weeks, along with Zion, like we talked about at the top of the show. And that is pretty much it. But everybody else is go. Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Jonas Valanciunas are all a go in this game. Delonte, let's start with the side here. Numbers now at -9 in favor of the Pelicans. What are you thinking about this game?
Yeah, I probably lean to the dog here, lean to the Hornets. I don't trust the Pelicans to lay this amount of points. I mean, Charlotte's not a good team. I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all, but I think they match up pretty decently with the Pelicans. They got the wing depth to be able to try to throw some people at Brandon Ingram. I mean, I don't think it's going to work as effectively, but I think they can at least limit him to, maybe 25 instead of 30, maybe. And the way Oubre's been playing as of late, he's been a spark for them. I think he's had 20 plus in 6 of the last 7 games. Some of the advantages that they have is they can limit the transition. So I know the Pelicans aren't susceptible to running, but they do it whenever they have an advantage. But they don't want to be able to do it against the Hornets, whose defense is like first in points per possession in transition. So they have to keep New Orleans in the half court where they're in the middle. They're middling, not the best and not the worst, but I think if they can keep them out of transition and front half court offense, I think they'll be able to slow them down a little bit. The Pelicans, I mean, I don't got a good read on them. I'm not gonna lie. That's one of the teams that I just can't get a good read on. Their offense struggles mightily. Minus Ingram, they don't have much there. CJ's been in a slump as of late, so maybe they do need Zion back to maybe get a jolt into them. But yeah, I'm leaning to the Hornets. Nothing strong. I just think that the number's kind of high.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm going to shrink this down, get my money, and get out for the Pelicans in the first half. You talked about the Hornets in away games after the All-Star break. They are 3-1 straight up and 3-1 against the spread. So I agree about the full game here for the Hornets, but they've been atrocious in that first half. They've been getting outscored by almost 7 points per game in that first half. Are the Hornets, and then we take a look at the defensive metrics for the Pelicans. Defensively, since the All-Star break, they are number. Let me see. I just had it in front of me. Post All-Star break, the New Orleans Pelicans number 8 as far as defensive rating, where Charlotte is number 20. Where did they go? They were just on my radar. Actually, they're number 3 since the All-Star break. But if we break that down to away games, especially in the first half for the Hornets, like I mentioned, that number balloons up or balloons down, I guess we can say, all the way down to number 27 in road games this season post All-Star break for the Hornets. They have a net rating in that first half of minus 13.5, and then at home post All-Star break for the Pelicans, their net rating in that span since All-Star break, like I mentioned, they are, let me see here, Pelicans are number 12 with a +3. So I think they can come out and again get a big lead, or at least a 4-point lead. Right now I'm seeing a 4.5 in that first half for the New Orleans Pelicans. I really do like that. And for whatever reason, the Hornets do make a comeback in the second half, even when they are down. So there's no quit in this team, from what I'm seeing. Last 10 games, before we get to the total here, at home in the first half, the New Orleans Pelicans are they're 5-5 against the spread. Over their last 5 games, the Pelicans are 3-2. But what kind of stood out to me over the last 5 games for the Charlotte Hornets, they are 2-3 against the spread. And then over the last 10 games, they are 4-6. So numbers are backing it up. I like the better defensive team, at least in the first half. I'm gonna go with the Pelicans in the first half. They're Delonte minus, I think it's at 4.5 right now over on WinBet.
Yeah, I'll probably join you on that and add some Pelicans first quarter also.
Yeah. All right, take us to the total, man. 225.
Yeah, I like the under. Both offenses struggling to score. Charlotte is 7th in defensive rating in the last 10 games. The Pelicans are 8th. So defense has been a strong point as of late for both teams. I don't think either offense is going to score over like 110. So I like the under here. Charlotte is actually the bottom team in offensive rating in the last 10 games. So although they fight, but they just can't score. And I don't think the Pelicans can score either. So I like the under here a lot.
Yeah, I like the under here too as well. I mean, we talk about both teams actually full game. Not talking about halves now. Have been really good defensive efficiency wise. We talk about the Charlotte Hornets even the past couple of years where were just a dead nut over team.
Yep.
But post All-Star break defensive rating number 3 in the entire league. Pelicans number 8. So both teams are top 10 in defensive rating. And then for the Charlotte Hornets, dead last in offensive efficiency, 105.1. So playing great defense, but they can't find offense. And same thing with the Pelicans. They're number 26 as far as offensive rating since the All-Star break. So 2 great defenses, 2 bad offenses. I think that goes to a under in this game at 225. Player props, what do you got?
Yeah, man, I've been cashing with this for about a week. Brandon Ingram over assist 5.5. He's had 5 or more in 6 straight games. They bumped it up. It was 4.5. Odds makers adjusted. It was too low. So I played that. It's a little juiced at minus 125, 130. But if you want to just go to 6, you can get better odds. I think he has 7 or more here, being in the more orchestrating the offense a little bit more. I also would play, if you don't want to lay the juice, I would play him over 32.5 points and assists. He's been over that number in the last 3 games. So either one I think is decent value. I also like Trey Murphy over 2.5 threes over 5 straight games. I mean, he's shooting lights out right now. He's the second fiddle to Brandon Ingram whenever he's off the floor. So I think he's going to get a lot of opportunity to score against his Charlotte defense.
Going back to the total here real quick, Reggie pointing out Hornets have hit the under in 11 of the past 15 games. So
that's a good stat. They also play better ATS on the road. They're 19 and 17 ATS on the road, and they're horrible at home for whatever reason.
Yeah, I like those calls about the player props that you just did mention there, especially the Trey Murphy one. I think he's really been flying under the radar for this Pelicans offense. I'm gonna go back to the well, man. We've talked a lot about fading the Hornets' interior defense or lack thereof, and taking opposing center rebounds. Valanciunas right now is at 12.5. It's a little bit of big at minus 125, but rightfully so. Over the last 5 games, he's averaging 12.4 rebounds per contest. But four of the last 5 games, he's had 12 or more rebounds. 12 against the Trailblazers. He had 17 against the Rockets, 12 again against the Rockets in that back-to-back situation. And then he had 15 in the last game against the Spurs.
All undersized teams like the Hornets.
Yeah, and then a game earlier this season against the Hornets, 30 points, 17 rebounds in that game. And then in his career, since he joined the Pelicans, which was back in 2020, in 3 career games, 17 rebounds, 18 rebounds. He had 8 rebounds in 1 game. But then even go back to Memphis, there's games where he had 15 rebounds, 13 rebounds, 13 rebounds. So going to continue fading the Hornets defense, interior defense, keeping guys off the boards. Valanciunas over 12.5 rebounds in this game. And again, on the season, I think they were giving up like close to, I want to say like 16 rebounds to that center position are the Charlotte Hornets. Let me double check here. Yeah, 16.4, which is 3rd worst. So That's one that I was looking at in this game for sure. Anything else for this game, Delonte?
Yeah, I like Oubre over 22.5 points. Forgot to mention he's over in 5 of the last 6 games. He's averaging about 17 attempts, actually 16.5 attempts per game from the field. So that's in the last 6 games. So the volume's going to be there. I think he has to have success if I think the Hornets are going to cover this number. So I like him over 22.5.
Yep. All right, let's get over to the last game of the night. We have the rematch from Tuesday night. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they are staying in LA to take on the Clippers here tonight. Currently, the line opened up, or let me say, opening line was -2 in favor of the Clippers. That number is now up to -4. Total up and about 231.5. Currently, the total is at 232.5. Starting to see some 232s pop up as well. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Oklahoma City Thunder, the usual suspects are out. Everybody else is playing here tonight. For the Clippers, Norman Powell continues to be out. Obviously, we talked about at the top of the show the big news of Paul George being out for at least 2 to 3 weeks. He has officially classified as a right knee sprain. So I think they said they were going to reevaluate in 2 to 3 weeks. So right now it's going to be the Kawhi Leonard show, and then whoever else can step up for this Clippers team here tonight, or at least for the next 2 to 3 weeks, or for the rest of the season, we should say. But Delonte, do you see the Clippers bouncing back here after taking the loss against the Thunder, or do you think the dominance of the Thunder, shockingly, against the Clippers team continues?
Man, honestly, I have no idea. I'm up in the air. But I'll tell you this, I can see why it was bet up, because I don't think Paul George is worth, 5.5 points. It closed 7.5, I think, last game.
Mm-hmm.
And now it was at 2 on open. So I think that was maybe a little bit of an over adjustment by the odds makers. Yeah, Paul George is not worth that much. And I know the Thunder played well, but the Clippers, they had chances to win that game. And credit to the Thunder for, like, each time they had an answer for everything the Clippers did. That was a great game. Kawhi at the end of the game, I don't know what the hell he was doing. He was like, he didn't even get a chance to get the shot up. Now that could have been great defense. There was great defense on him by Lu Dort. I think Lu Dort was on him, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, so yeah, I give him credit for that. But I think the Clippers had control of the game in certain situations. But the Thunder, they're just too feisty. I mean, I'm not going to bet against them. I'm not going to lie to you. I bet against them actually in that game, and I got burned. So I'm not doing it again. Even though we all know the losing team has the advantage in the second game. I think Lou will probably make some adjustments to be able to get the Thunder out of rhythm. But the first game without Paul George, I kind of got to see how these guys step up and play, which I kind of think they're going to be fine. But just against the Thunder, who've been playing incredible defense and offensively, they're actually number 1 in defensive rating over the last 10 games. So their defense has flown under the radar. Yeah, man, I'll lean to the Thunder. I'm probably not going to play it, but I can see why the Clippers got bet early on in the game, because I think that was a little overreaction. But yeah, I'm leaning to the Thunder.
Yeah, I think this is a game where it's that first game for a team that loses their star player for, we can say, a significant amount of time. I think that 3 weeks is usually, I think I use as a measuring stick for significant, which usually always turns into about a month for some of these players. So I think that we probably won't see Paul George for the rest of the season, see where he's at if the Clippers do make the playoffs. But if you got to go back and look at the box score in that game on Tuesday night, I mean, the Clippers had an atrocious night shooting from 3-point land, 6 of 31 in that game, 0 of 5 for Paul George. Marcus Morris Sr. was 1 of 6. So those guys combined right there, 1 of 11. Westbrook, I don't know why he's still jacking up 3-point shots. He was 0 of 3.
Bro, he came down. Like, I think the Clippers were like on a little run. They were trying to push it open to about 6 or 7 at the time. I think it was mid third quarter. Mm-hmm. He comes down. He does a scooping layup, hits the bottom of the backboard. He goes to he tries to do, he used to be real good at that driving hard left. And then like pivoting back with the fadeaway jumper. He used to be real good with that. Man, he did that twice, air ball. Like, so bad, man. It's so bad.
But I think that, Delonte, this is an opportunity for the guys that they traded for to step up, or at least guys like Eric Gordon, who was 2 of 7 from the floor, 1 of 5 from 3-point line, a minus 14 in the box score. I know Terrence Mann got ejected in that game. I think he's probably going to be in that starting lineup, maybe Eric Gordon or Batum, but I think Kawhi's going to have a big night here, but I think somebody else needs to step up for this team, obviously in the absence of Paul George. So I'm going to go with the Clippers here tonight, man. I know we took Thunder money line on Tuesday. That one cashed for us. But like we talked about with the Cavs and the Nets, in those games where they're playing the same opponent in consecutive games, I usually like going against a team that lost that first game. So that's the Clippers here tonight. And I also like the Clippers in the first quarter. I think that we'll see the guys kind of rally here. This is the hoorah moment, like I mentioned with PG going down. And I think they'll step up. Again, this is a big game. Like we talked about, these Western Conference opponents that are playing against each other that are in that 4-12 range. Every single game matters. We can say it's almost like it's a playoff game almost for every single one of these games in the regular season here. So right now, the Clippers are sitting in that 5 spot at 38-35. They have a half a game lead over the Golden State Warriors. OKC right now is in that 8 spot, tied with the Mavs. So if the Thunder do win here tonight, they'll leapfrog the Minnesota Timberwolves and be in that 7th spot, and only then a half a game behind the Golden State Warriors. If the Clippers win here tonight, they'll be tied with the Phoenix Suns, at least in the standings. They'll have a 1 game win advantage, and they'll be tied with the Phoenix Suns for that 4th spot. So between that 4 and 5 spot, it's really much who gets the home court advantage in that first round. So I think this is a big game for the Clippers. I think they'll rally here tonight. I'm going to take the Clippers first quarter, and I'll take them for the full game at -4 as well. Let's get over to the total here, Delonte. This number, like I mentioned, opened up at 231.5. Did get bet up to 232.5, but starting to see some 232s pop up now. Any thoughts on the total?
Yeah, I'll probably lean under. I mean, what they scored 203 combined last game?
203.
Yeah, so I don't see much changing, especially with PG off the court. So you're losing a score now. Like you mentioned, those guys probably have to step up. But as a collective, I think they can pretty much, do some of the things that Paul George does offensively, but defensively is where they're probably going to struggle. But I don't see the Thunder having much success or the Clippers having much success either offensively. Both teams struggle offensively, like bottom 10 in offensive rating. And like I mentioned at the top, like Oklahoma City has been playing incredible defense as of late. And also like 27 of the 36 home games for the Clippers have went under. So they're an under team at home. I don't see much offense here. I could see maybe a little bit more than last game, maybe like 110, 115 type of game. But yeah, I like the under here a lot.
Do you think it's a look at spot for the Thunder going against the Lakers on Friday night?
Ooh, that's a good.
It is a back-to-back situation for them.
Oh, so this is the first leg of the back-to-back.
And so now here's an interesting situation as well, right, Delonte? Because remember All-Star break that SGA said that I'm gonna have some for the Lakers ass or for LeBron or something.
I remember that. I remember that.
But he didn't. I don't think he played in that first game against the Lakers since that All-Star break. They did have a game against the Lakers in their building. He didn't play in that game, and also did read that SGA was going to be starting to sit out in back-to-back games.
They got to play him. They got to play him if they want to win. They got to play him. I mean, they have to.
So I think there might be a possibility where we see SGA sit tonight, and then he plays tomorrow. Because I feel like it might be a look-at spot for the Thunder.
Yeah, I would think that the Laker game is a little bit more important than the Clipper game, if like
as far as like standings go, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but then again, I mean, they all jumbled up, so every game is important. But I would guess you would want to, because I mean, beating the Clippers or losing to the Clippers doesn't mean as much because they won't move up. The Clippers aren't going to move up or down much with a win. So I think it means more for the Thunder here. So I would expect them to play hard in both games, but like you said, it all depended upon SGA because I seen him like guard. I think PG and Kawhi like really try to guard him, and like it won't happen.
It's hard, yeah.
It wasn't. He was doing whatever he wanted, and that's against. I mean, they've lost their luster a lot. They're probably a little bit overrated from a defensive standpoint, living off the pass. Of their defensive wizardness, I guess you could say. But still, they're still top tier defenders in the NBA as far as individual defenders, and SGA was doing whatever he wanted with them.
Yeah, I mean, last 5 games, Thunder are number 2 in defensive rating. Clippers are number 4 in defensive rating. So, again, I think this number is a little bit high at 232.5. So I'm with you on the under as well. Player props, what do you got?
Listen, man, Russell Westbrook under 17.5 points. I don't care if Paul George is, I don't care if Paul George is out. He's went under in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight games. He's had single digits in 4 of those games.
Yeah.
He's like, I mean, there's really nothing else you need to say. Like Russell Westbrook under. I mean, he might get a little bit more opportunity being that Paul George is out, but I mean, really, does Tyronn Lue want Russell Wilson? I mean, Russell Wilson. Does he want Russell Westbrook like shooting threes or more orchestrating? I think he would rather the latter. So I think that Russell dials back a little bit on the shots. Maybe, he shoots 7 instead of 10 here. And if the percentages are what they are, he's probably going to go 3 for 7. So I like him under. I like Kawhi over. I think he's going to have a big night like you alluded to. I do like some of those secondary guys. I don't see a lot of props on like Eric Gordon on here. Do you see any Eric Gordon props? I didn't see any earlier.
Let me see. Eric Gordon, I do not see. I only see Zubac, Kawhi, Marcus Morris, Mason Plumlee, and Russ. Maybe closer to game time, you can get something for Eric.
Yeah, but he'll be a player I'll be looking. I'll be looking towards. I don't see Terrence Mann up here either. So those two guys, depending on the number, those two guys I'll be looking to play. Man, the Thunder is kind of hard to do their props, like because they legit play 9 to 10 guys, like legit play 9 to 10 guys. I seen some guy named Waters. I don't even know where the hell he's from. And he was out there shooting up threes. I mean, Isaiah Joe. They got Dort. Both J Dubs. I don't remember. Is Jalen the center? Jalen Williams, is he hurt? I didn't see him play. I don't remember seeing him play last game.
Let me check the box score here.
I don't remember seeing him play last game, and I don't see his props listed either.
Yeah, he's not on the injury report either. So I know Kenrich Williams is on there, but that's completely. Yeah, he did play. He only played 11 minutes though last game.
Okay, so I guess they were going more small ball.
Yeah,
which they do play a lot well. Small ball. Sarge is doing okay, and man, it's hard to gauge with the Oklahoma City prop. So unless you're just taking SGA, I know my man Real is going to be on SGA.
Yeah, I was looking for Isaiah Joe's 3-point. It's at 2.5 at plus 105.
2.5. Oh man, that's low.
He's hit. The volume hasn't been there. I mean, the makes haven't been there for him. The last 5 games, he's gone 2 of 8, 3 of 7, 3 of 5, and then 1 of 5 and 1 of 6. So I'll probably wait maybe against the Lakers or maybe another team to back that. But yeah, I think Kawhi. It's a big night for Kawhi. I think he bounces back here tonight. That was my only player prop. Maybe if you look at Mason Plumlee rebounds or Zubac rebounds.
Yeah, it's interesting to see those guys, like how he does those guys' minutes, because they both should have like a decent, a real good advantage on the inside. The Thunder don't have a lot of interior defense. So
yeah, Zubac played 19 minutes in the last game. He only had, I think, 3 rebounds. Did I see that?
Yeah, that's right.
And then, but Mason Plumlee played 21 minutes. He had 12 rebounds.
I'll be on that with you.
Yeah, so I don't see that listed yet, but I think they're slowly draw. Oh no, wait, hold on. Mason Plumlee is at 7.5, but it's at minus 140. So, yeah, definitely keep that in mind. All right, anything else for this game, Delonte?
Nah, that's all I got.
All right, that's going to do it for the 4 games. 4 games on the schedule here tonight for Thursday. Let's get into our picks to wrap up the show here. Delonte, lead us off, man. What do you got for your lock-in dog?
Yeah, I'm going with the New York Knicks. I like the Knicks. I think we all were consensus with me and you and some of the guys in the chat also. I think it's a good spot for the Knicks. I think they bounce back. They got to try to improve their seeding and get off to a better start to end the season. Take that momentum into the playoffs. So I like the Knicks minus 3.5. Also for the dog, I'm just going to go with Charlotte. It's the only attractive dog that I like here. And I mean, went over some of the advantages that they have. It's going to be a low possession game, so I think that tends to lean to the underdog. So give me Charlotte plus 9.
All right. For my lock, I am going to go Pelicans first half minus 5, like we talked about. It's just the numbers are just way overwhelming in that first half where they've just been getting outscored where they're on the road, or whether they're as a road underdog, road game overall. And like I mentioned, the first half defensive offensive rating for both teams there's a night and day difference for both of these teams in that first half. But like you mentioned, the Hornets making the game in the second half for whatever reason, so I think they can backdoor it. But I think that Pelicans do come out in that first half, and have a at least a 7 to 8 point lead here. So at -5, I'll take the Pelicans in the first half for my lock. For my dog, don't really like any of the underdogs here tonight, so probably have to pivot to a player prop here tonight. Maybe looking at the double market. I think we both talked about Mitchell Robinson having a double here tonight. That's at plus 380. Yeah, I think I'll just give that out. Plus 380 for a double for, or actually, you know what? I'm gonna go Spencer Dinwiddie on the double plus 175 for my dog here tonight. I mentioned for the last 5 games he's had 11 or more assists. I think that Brooklyn Nets are live to win this game here tonight. So if you want to do like a player performance double with Spencer Dinwiddie and the Nets money line, so I do like the Nets here and tonight as well. So give me Spencer Dinwiddie double plus 175, and then also take a look at the Nets money line here tonight as well. That number is currently at, let's see, over on win bet, plus 145 on the money line. So I'll give you 2 dogs there. Spencer Dinwiddie double plus 175, and then Brooklyn Nets money line plus 145 here for tonight.
Yeah, I'll be on that Dinwiddie thing with you.
Yep. All right, man. That's going to do it for this edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast. Only 4 games on the schedule here tonight. But, Delonte, anything else you want to mention before we get out of here, my man?
Nah, man. Just appreciate everybody in the chat. Make sure you leave a review. That'll help us out a lot. That's about it, man. Let's get on the right side of some of these games.
Yeah, again, if you aren't able to get to the pod or to the YouTube stream, again, make sure to head over to the website, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA picks. We put our picks up every day. You'll see a little lock button next to some of the picks for our locks there. When the guys put out our picks between myself, Delonte, Scott, and Terrell. So make sure to head over there, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA picks. If you haven't already, if you're watching live, please leave us or hit that like button on the stream here. And again, like Delonte mentioned, if you haven't left us a rating or review, please do so wherever you do listen to the podcast on the respective players. We'll be back tomorrow with Scott and Terrell for the Friday games. Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off and let it ride.